What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for NBA Tuesday, January 12th. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's NBA slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, let's take a look at the point guard position. I like Dennis Schroeder from the LA Lakers playing the Houston Rockets, who have the 12th worst defense overall, and they give up the 6th most fantasy points to opposing point guards. Dennis Schroeder has averaged 27.4 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 21 minutes per game with a 23% usage rate. He scored 37, 32, and 15 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 34, 34, and 27 minutes. He's projected at 28.1 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.1 times value. He's 5,500 FanDuel salary and 600 more on DraftKings. So I like this matchup. It's a high-paced game or a fast-paced game. So I like Dennis Schroeder here versus the Houston Rockets. The other point guard that I like, and this is because he hasn't played that well the past couple of games. His ownership's probably going to be a little bit low, and he's got some major upside when he gets going. So I think he's worth a shot here tonight. So I like Jamal Murray from the Denver Nuggets playing the Brooklyn Nets, who have the 7th worst defense overall. And although they've been pretty good versus opposing point guards, Jamal Murray has averaged 30.3 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 35 minutes per game with a 23% usage rate. So he's only scored 14, 22, and 39 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 29, 28, and 46 minutes. So this is kind of a high risk, high reward play here based on his performance the past couple of games and what I expect to be lower ownership. He's projected at 30 fantasy points here tonight. That's 4.3 times value. He's 7,000 FanDuel salary and 100 less on DraftKings. So I like this play because Jamal Murray has 50-point upside at low ownership. His salary's coming down. I like that DraftKings price. So I like Jamal Murray here versus the Brooklyn Nets. Okay, let's take a look at the shooting guard position. I like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander from the Oklahoma City Thunder playing the San Antonio Spurs, who have the 5th worst defense overall. And although they've been pretty good versus opposing shooting guards, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has averaged 39.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 34 minutes per game with a 27% usage rate. He's been on fire, scored 56, 48, and 54 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 36, 34, and 36 minutes. He's projected at 39.9 fantasy points here tonight. That's 4.7 times value. He's 8,500 FanDuel salary and 500 less on DraftKings. So I like that DraftKings price. Vegas thinks there's going to be 217.5 points scored in this game. So I like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander here versus the San Antonio Spurs. Now, I picked this guy yesterday, but I think I'm going to have to pick him again. I like Victor Oladipo from the Indiana Pacers playing the Golden State Warriors, who have the 12th worst defense overall. The 10th worst defense overall, and they're middle of the pack defending opposing shooting guards. Victor Oladipo has averaged 36.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 33 minutes per game with a 27% usage rate. He scored 46, 30, and 33 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 37, 30, and 35 minutes. He's projected at 38.1 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.4 times value. He's $7,000 FanDuel salary and the same price on DraftKings. So I like that price on both sites. So I like Victor Oladipo here versus the Golden State Warriors. Now, a nice mid-range play here is Lonnie Walker from the San Antonio Spurs playing the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have the 11th worst defense overall, and they give up the 8th most fantasy points to opposing shooting guards. Lonnie Walker has averaged 22.5 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 29 minutes per game with a 20% usage rate. But he scored 39, 15, and 26 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 30, 27, and 26 minutes. He's projected at 28 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.4 times value. He's $5,200 FanDuel salary and $200 more on DraftKings. So I like Lonnie Walker here versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. Okay, let's take a look at the small forward position. So if Kyrie Irving refuses to play once again, I like Kevin Durant from the Brooklyn Nets playing the Denver Nuggets, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they're middle-of-the-pack defending opposing small forwards. Kevin Durant has averaged 47.4 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 35 minutes per game with a 31% usage rate. He scored 54 fantasy points in 37 minutes last game with a 36% usage rate. He's projected at 49.6 fantasy points here tonight. That's 4.9 times value. He's $10,100 FanDuel salary and $700 less on DraftKings. So I like that DraftKings price. So I like Kevin Durant here versus the Denver Nuggets. Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups. Another small forward that I like, if you're looking for a value play, take a look at Kent Bazemore from the Golden State Warriors playing the Indiana Pacers, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they're middle-of-the-pack defending opposing small forwards. Kent Bazemore has scored 27, 18, and 17 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 20, 19, and 19 minutes. He had an 18% usage rate last game. Those numbers are all up from his season averages, and he's projected at 16 fantasy points here tonight. That's 4.3 times value. But he's only $3,700 FanDuel salary and $100 less on DraftKings. So he would crush value if he can get over 20 fantasy points. I think he can get there. So I like Kent Bazemore here versus the Indiana Pacers. Okay, let's take a look at the power forward position. I like Domantas Sabonis from the Indiana Pacers playing the Golden State Warriors, who have the 10th worst defense overall, and they're middle-of-the-pack defending opposing power forwards. Domantas Sabonis has averaged 45.5 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 38 minutes per game with a 25% usage rate. He scored 43, 57, and 40 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 39, 41, and 38 minutes. He's projected at 46.2 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5 times value. He's $9,200 FanDuel salary and $100 more on DraftKings. So I like Domantas Sabonis here versus the Golden State Warriors. And another value play for you, I like Trey Lyles from the San Antonio Spurs playing the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have the 11th worst defense overall, and they give up the 4th most fantasy points to opposing power forwards. Trey Lyles, he scored 20 fantasy points last game, playing 35 minutes. So he's projected at 19 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.3 times value. He's only $3,600 FanDuel salary and $300 less on DraftKings. So I like Trey Lyles here versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. Okay, moving on to the center position. He's expensive on FanDuel, but I like Nikola Jokic from the Denver Nuggets playing the Brooklyn Nets, who have the 7th worst defense overall, and they give up the 6th most fantasy points to opposing centers. Nikola Jokic has averaged 54.3 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 35 minutes per game with a 28% usage rate. He scored 46, 40, and 60 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 30, 29, and 41 minutes. He's projected at 53.6 fantasy points here tonight. That's 4.7 times value. He's $11,400 FanDuel salary and $400 less on DraftKings. So fantastic matchup here. He's got 60 plus point upside in this matchup, so he's worth spending up for. Find those value plays and make a lineup with Nikola Jokic here versus the Brooklyn Nets. Another center that I like is Rudy Gobert from the Utah Jazz playing the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have a good defense overall, and they've been good versus opposing centers. But Rudy Gobert has averaged 39.4 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 31 minutes per game with an 18% usage rate. He scored 36, 39, and 45 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 33, 33, and 35 minutes. He's projected at 39.7 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5 times value. He's $8,000 FanDuel salary and $200 more on DraftKings. So I like Rudy Gobert here versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smiggity smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.